Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Mac and Jack Sports Show, This Week in Sports Sunday edition, streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. I'm Mac Sports and the Northeast Streaming Sports Facebook pages. Please like, follow, and share our Facebook pages. Subscribe to the Northeast Streaming Sports YouTube channel for all the great Northeast Streaming Sports shows. We're also on Instagram and Twitter. Our website is nessp.info for all information on all our shows, guests, bios, sports information, stores, and links to those stores. I'm Mac. I'm solo again today. My co-host, legendary boxing writer Jack Hirsch, is still under the weather. So I'm here to bring you national sports with special focus on Northeast professional sports from New York, Boston, and Philly. So good morning, everyone, and how you doing today on this Sunday? I'm a little bit tired today, folks. I just pulled an all-nighter at my last job, so I'll be trying to do this without falling asleep or messing up too much, and I think I can handle it. So thanks for tuning in, and let's get a little bit to this week of some of the biggest, or I should say maybe most important topics. This week I talked to Pags, who co-hosts with me, about the Olympics, and Russia has labeled us as perverts and freaks. That's right. Us in the United States here, we are perverts and freaks, and they're a little upset that they finished so low in the Olympics. As Pags pointed out on Friday, Russia was even supposed to be competing in the Olympics. They ended up, for steroids use, they got suspended. But they worked a little bit of political magic that they have there. I guess Japan allowed them to bring in athletes under the Russian Olympic Committee or something like that. I forget what they called it. But they allowed them to bring their athletes in, and not using those steroids, they didn't do too well. So they're a little upset over there in Russia about what happened in the Olympics. The Field of Dreams, the highest rated regular season game in the last 16 years, guys. And you would think with something like that Major League Baseball would take that hint, right? That they would do specials like this all the time. You would imagine they would do this. But knowing Major League Baseball the way I do, this will be a yearly thing, and they won't do any other specials like this because they don't know how to promote the game. Every other sport, maybe besides hockey because of how you have to set up to play this game and during the year, they go out in the communities. They help rebuild parks. They help bring their superstars and organizations into the local communities. And they promote the sport that way. The NBA helps build new courts or refurbish new courts. They have a 3-on-3 league. And the NFL has camps all across the country where professionals or former professionals go out and they're ambassadors to the sport of football. They do this because they know they need the young fans. Baseball hasn't caught on to that yet. They used to do this. I mean, if you go back in the history of baseball, where they were real, just normal people, right? I mean, if you think about the Dodgers, the Brooklyn Dodgers, folks, not the Los Angeles Dodgers, they used to actually live with the normal people in their normal neighborhoods. They would take the trolley, or they would take the subway to the stadium. You knew who they were. You see them get a newspaper. They'd walk down the street. They'd go to the local restaurants and the local bars. And they were friends of yours. This was way back when, folks, before all this money and all this television contracts and all these different things that make players today untouchable, right? I mean, you never see somebody like, let's throw Mike Trout hanging out at the local bar or the local restaurant with the people. They don't have to anymore, right? They got guaranteed contracts. They're making millions of dollars, and they live that lifestyle. In fact, they don't go out in the communities hardly at all. I'm sure they raise funds for charities and stuff like that. But they really don't stay in touch with the people of the country. That's what minor leagues are used for now. You know, you go to a minor league baseball game, and you can take your family. You got free parking, $10 a ticket maybe. And they have events there. They have things happening for the kids and the family. You can get signatures of maybe future superstars. They'll even let you approach them and talk to them a little bit. So the Field of Dreams was an outstanding idea, right? Outstanding. It proved it in the ratings. They were charging $1,400 a ticket. I think they had 8,000 people there. So they still made money. I mean, if you figure that out, that's somewhere over $800,000 that they made just in tickets alone. But it brought you back to a time where baseball was really part of the American fabric, right? The movie Field of Dreams was a great idea. It was a great movie. And they tried to emulate that, and they did. And it was an exciting game, too, and the players loved it. Because it took it back. It took it back into the history of baseball. Yeah, there you go. Pags is better at math than me with money. $8 million, folks. $8 million. Can you imagine that? And people loved it, right? The cornfields were there. They hit the home runs into the cornfields. They walked out of the cornfields onto the field. It was one thing so far, I think of maybe in the last 10 years, that Major League Baseball got right. I don't expect it to happen again soon. Kind of follows hockey, right? They have that outdoor game. They added that lake. I forget off the top of my head where. But it's different, right? It makes you want to tune in and watch. And the Yankees and the Chicago White Sox put quite a show on, didn't they? Going back and forth, taking the lead, walk-off two-run home run, and a ninth to win it. So a little delve back into the past for today, which made it great. And hopefully Major League Baseball gets this right. Hopefully they start reaching out to the younger fans and not people like me who were there watching when baseball, took off in the 70s, where it was still America's pastime. I'm looking at Major League Baseball and the divisions. And it's very interesting to me how people are looking at the divisions and who's going to win and who's going to not win. Of course, the Dodgers are the favorite to win, but they're not even in first place, folks. In the East, you've heard about the Chicago White Sox. I was just talking about them beating the Yankees. There are certain teams that get all that pub, right? Because the Dodgers have a team, the best team money can buy. They got a 9 position players and a pitching staff that are all-stars. So, of course, they should win the World Series, but not so fast. Right now, you got the San Francisco Giants playing unbelievable baseball. You got the Milwaukee Brewers, a small market team. And as Pags pointed out, that once every few years they make a run. They got a great coach over there at Milwaukee. And then in the American League, you got the White Sox favorite. Best overall team, they said. And Houston, who, by the way, was my pick to go to the World Series. My 2 picks, folks, were the Houston Astros versus the Milwaukee Brewers. That's right, I picked Milwaukee in the beginning of the season. But right now, the Rays are raising all kinds of cane out there, aren't they? And nobody really talks about them. Houston with that scandal and always having pretty much a good team. Chicago, loaded. And nobody in the division is going to catch them. And everybody was talking a little bit about the Yankees again, and I just don't get that. They got power, no doubt. But pitching is supposed to be good hitting. That's what they tell us, right? And Yankees just don't have the starting pitching. People talked about the about the Toronto Blue Jays. That they were one of the favorites. Nobody said anything about the Rays. They get rid of all their players. They get rid of their superstars. But yeah, there they are again. First place in the East. So let's take a look at the leaders real quick. You have the Rays at 71-46. Up 4 right now on the falling Boston Red Sox. Chicago at 68-49. Up 11 games on Detroit. Chicago's winning that division. There's no doubt about it. Houston at 70-46. 2.5 games up on the A's. There's another team. Not a lot of superstars, but they find a way to get in that mix at the end of the year. You got, as I said, the San Francisco Giants with a 4-game lead over the Dodgers and 10 up on San Diego. And San Diego last year raised all kinds of hell. And they picked up some really key players, but look at them now. You know, they're not the playoffs. They'll probably get in there as a wild card. Maybe they'll do damage when they get in as a wild card. As I said, Milwaukee is 71-47, 8 games ahead of the Reds. That's their division to lose to. And then you got the Mets and the Braves tied. Who wants it? Excuse me, who wants it over there? The Braves were supposed to be leading the way right now. But the Phillies, I don't know if it surprises a lot of people, but the Phillies are hitting the heck out of the ball. The Mets, they're hanging in there. I think they're 2.5 games back, if I'm not mistaken. 1.5 up on the Mets. And the Mets starting pitching is in jeopardy over there with DeGrom probably not coming back this year. So competitive, but not a real winning division, not a winning record. Nothing you can say, wow, that team's going to blow everybody away. I know it's the regular season. I understand that. But if you think about it, what's going to change? You get in the playoffs, and unless you picked up some free agents that are your players are coming back that are hurt, that are going to be key contributors to the team, it really doesn't matter. It really wouldn't matter if the Yankees made it in the playoffs as a wild card, or Toronto for that matter. They just don't have the team to go to the World Series. And it's funny how the teams that spent the most money, that made the most moves during the deadline, they're still sitting back. The Dodgers went out and got some people at the trade deadline like they needed anybody else. They're still 4 games back. San Diego reloaded, and they were a great team last year. They're 10 games back. The Yankees have kind of got a winning streak going, but they fall right back down. Starting pitching, folks. It's all about pitching. You can have all the all-stars you want in that outfield and infield. You can hit the heck out of the ball. You can hit 100 home runs, 500 home runs, but you're striking out a lot. I'll tell you what. I'm going to go over some stats for you to tell you what I'm talking about. And you're 100% right, Carlos. Yankees need pitching. They've had a strategy, the Yankees, the last, 6 years. When they won the World Series, you had people like Roger Clemens, David Cone, David Wells, El Duque, and of course you had Mariano, the greatest relief pitcher of all time. There'll be nobody like that. And their strategy has been lately, and I say lately, I mean years, folks. I don't mean 2 weeks ago. Don't worry about the starting pitching so much. Let's get the best relief pitching in the league, right? They have the best relief staff in the league. What good is that if you're down 4-0? If your starting pitcher is giving up four runs, 5 runs in the first 5 innings, what does it matter what kind of relief staff you have? Unless you're going to start them all 1 inning at a time, a couple innings each. I've seen some teams, and you've seen some teams that have done that. And what that happens at the end of the year to the Yankees is that their bullpen gets used up. Their bullpen ends up getting used up. Their arms are tired because they're pitching all the time. And they don't have the starting pitcher to compete in the playoffs against other teams that have good hitting teams and have good pitching. And then they throw the relievers out there, and they can't do it. You think about a starting pitcher today, maybe go 6-7 innings a game, twice a week, maybe. And you keep bringing these relievers in, and they're pitching to the equivalency, if not more than the starting pitching. So I don't know what they're thinking about. Oh, it sure has. It sure has backfired, Carlos. And they've been trying to do this for years. And you would think that the manager, the general manager, or the owner would say, hey, wait a minute, this isn't working, you know? I mean, we're making the playoffs. We got power because we made sure we got power. But you would think after all these years, and what we know about what wins the ball games, that Yankees will go heavily after starting pitcher. We'll see what happens. So as I said, let me give you a little stats here, and you're going to be surprised, I think, at the batting averages here, because the batting has gone to pot. Professional hitters can't hit anymore, folks. They really can't hit anymore. And if you think about it, yeah, a Major League Baseball hitter should at least be able to hit 250, right? At least. A good hitter is about 270. A great hitter, 300 and up, right? That's how we always thought about baseball. If you hit 200, I don't even think you'd be in that lineup. So if you take a look around, folks, around the leaders, the division leading Rays, their batting average is 236. That's the team batting average. So that means every 10 times they get up, they get what, 2 hits? They have 157 home runs, and they've driven 571 runs. Their ERA is 3.77. And I don't understand how these ERAs are so high when the batting averages are so low. But that's what the stats are telling me. The Chicago White Sox, the team that's the best in the American League, according to everybody. The Chicago White Sox average is 250. It's not the best in the league, but 250 is, I think, second best, folks. Second best in the league. They have 139 home runs and 551 RBIs. The ERA is 3.56. Okay, right? That's normally what a good baseball team might have. Good pitching staff. Oh, 3.56 is passable. The Astros batting average is a little higher than Chicago's. It's 2.56. They have 153 home runs and 601 RBIs. And I think they got the second most home runs, or the first in the American League, second overall. Their ERA is 3.62. And it's true. It's true. It's also clutch hitting. It's very true. You don't have to hit home runs to drive in runs, folks. Do you know you could score a run without even getting a base hit? On walks and sacrifices? You can score a run and steals. You don't even have to get a base hit to score a run. So we go over to the National League, folks. In the National League East, the Braves hitting average is 242. They have 169 home runs and 550 RBIs. Now, they're supposed to have a good pitching staff, but their pitching staff's ERA is 4.06. No wonder why they're having a problem winning that division. No wonder why the Phillies are challenging them. No wonder why the Mets are only a game and a half back. It's all about pitching, folks. And they may have clutch hitting, Carlos. They might. So we move on over to the Milwaukee Brewers. Their batting average is only 228. This is a first place team. 141 home runs, 527 RBIs, folks. Their ERA is 3.33. That's respectable. That's respectable. The 228 batting average? Go back 10 years, you wouldn't start if you only batted 228, unless you hit 40 home runs. Finally, San Francisco. Their batting average is 246. That's respectable. 250 if you count all the players. They have 176 home runs, folks. 550 RBIs. And their pitching ERA is 3.33. They're tied right out with Milwaukee. That's why San Francisco is in first place. All around good team. Now, a lot of people say maybe the pool of players, maybe it's a little bit more, too many players, maybe too many teams, that the talent isn't what it was at the Major League Baseball level back in earlier days. Some of these players that start right now wouldn't have been able to start back in the 70s and 80s, maybe not even the 90s. So, you know, we look at maybe too much, folks. Maybe too much. You can make $10 million a year batting 240 today. Being an okay fielder. more errors than I've seen in my life, guys. I've seen more errors this year in baseball than I've ever seen before. We're talking multiple errors in one game. Heck, I watched some of the smaller market, lower teams, and I'll tell you, folks, it's unwatchable. It's unwatchable. Walking batters in, loading the bases and just walking batters in. Throwing wild pitches after walking batters in. I've never seen nothing like this before. When you look at Major League Baseball, you're talking about supposed to be professionals. And some of them look like they wouldn't even make it in a Division AA. Not back when I was watching in my early days. And that's why I'm going to start a new professional baseball league. You watch. I'll talk about that a little later in the program too. I've been hammering it, guys. I've been hammering it home. We need some competition to start up somewhere. We need some new teams where there's no teams now. So we'll talk about that later. In fact, pretty soon. Because backstage right now, one of my favorite guests comes in every Sunday with me and Jack when Jack's here. And he has his own unique way of looking at things. Don't agree with him all the time, but he makes valid points. And that's all I ask. And he brings it every week. So let's welcome Sports Scope host Robert Butler.
Oh, there you go.
There you are. I can hear you now.
Well, if you had everybody agree, we have a boring show, Mac.
It's true. It's true. It's true. It's very true.
Well, you tell Mac or Jack I'm thinking about him. Excuse, I get you two mixed up. You know.
That's okay. We look a lot alike.
Y'all change hats on me.
Yeah, no, right. One day I'll put his hat on. I'll send him one of my hats. This one I had to chase a guy. I actually had to chase this guy a couple miles to get this hat. I was chasing him. I was down.
He grabbed your hat?
No, I grabbed his, Robert. That's
funny.
So I made that up.
Yeah.
I was just talking about baseball. We're gonna get to that in a little bit, but I want to talk to you a little bit about, of course, football's coming up, and that's the biggest story, and we can't wait to see that. And I can't. In fact, last night I worked overnight. And I had to stay there when nobody else was there and work. I got a big event coming up. So I've been up close to almost 24 hours.
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah.
You don't even remember this podcast or show.
Good thing.
Did I dream this or did I talk to Robert earlier? Yeah.
Yes. Well, you know how it is. You got a very, very
you got
a very demanding job too, Robert. So the Cleveland Browns in a lot of places are favored to win the AFC. And the Browns have always been a team. Now, not going way back. If we go way back, Robert, when Paul Brown was the head coach, and some people consider him the greatest football coach in the history of football, bar none. Right. Better Belichick, he had a team that was unbelievable. And when they first came in, a little history for you if you don't know this. I know it'll be some.
A little bit. It's way before my time, but a little bit.
Yeah, me too. But when they were it was called not the AFC, but the AFFC. It was a league, the 49ers and the Browns, and I think the Colts were in it too. And Paul Brown for that, before the league collapsed. So, there's always been people challenging the NFL. At that time, the NFC, well, it'd be the NFC today. They were the best team. They dominated that league under Paul Brown. And then in the 50s, they had another great team. You had Otto Graham and Jimmy Brown, and he had a very offensive-minded and defensive-minded coach. Supposedly, he's the first one that really put that forward pass into motion. They actually have really used that with Otto Graham. Otto Graham, in 10 years, did more than any other quarterback. If you put his 10-year career up against, say, some of the greats, his 10 years were unbelievable. He was up there challenging him at one time.
Yeah.
But the Browns, after the Super Bowl era, when that started, we haven't heard from them except in the 80s when they played those games with Denver, losing on the
you forgot the Jim Brown era.
What? That's what I'm saying. The 50s, early 60s.
Yeah.
But after the Super Bowl, Robert, came about, they haven't been to a Super Bowl yet. And they came close a couple of times against Denver when Schottenheimer was with them.
January 11th, 1987.
There you go.
I looked that up when you sent me.
There you go. So, I mean, they had the fumble with Ernest Myers, and he fumbled the ball on the 2-yard line. They were winning. They would have went to the Giants for the Super Bowl. And then they had another one where on that late drive by Elway, who ended up doing that one drive, and I don't know how long it took them, but they ended up
2 minutes.
Yeah,
the ultimate 2-minute.
Yeah, drill, right? Exactly.
Yeah,
and then back in '89 they went to the championship again. So they've been always almost. They've never really got to the hump. And I don't know if it's a curse, or the team moves. They go to Baltimore. They get a new Browns team. Sun's always up with the Cleveland Browns. They got some of the most faithful fans in the country because of their history. What do you think their chances are this year, Robert? I mean,
yeah,
they're in a tough division, man.
It kind of reminds me of the Boston Red Sox curse a little bit. Except I don't know what they did to get cursed. Actually, I was thinking about the AFC this weekend, and I can potentially see the Browns getting the number 1 seed and the Buffalo Bills getting the number 2 seed. And I can see Josh Allen going down with 2 minutes to go and beating them just like John Elway did 30 plus years ago. I mean, I can see that. But they have the talent. I got them winning the AFC North. And they have the talent this year. If you look at what they've done on defense, they have a lot of depth. They've already had the offense. I mean, multiple running backs. They've got 3 tight ends, Mac, that can play. They got depth at wide receiver. They had the number 1 offensive line last year, according to Pro Football Focus, and they've got projected the number 1 offensive line this year coming in, and the number 3 secondary coming into this year, Mac. When that was a weak, that their back 4 was a weak point last year because they had injuries, Mac.
Right.
And now they've got depth at those positions. So, there was a 1993 hit. I don't know if you remember that movie, The Program.
Yeah.
But the fictional college football team, but I think they were trying to really model FSU, Florida State. Rest in peace, Bobby Bowden. But one of the boosters or one of the coaches told the head coach, he says, as long as this quarterback don't try to win the Heisman on every throw, I think they're going to be okay. And Baker Mayfield does not he don't need to get the Josh Allen contract on every throw. I think they're going to be okay. As long as he don't try too hard and turn the ball over. This team, I got them beating Kansas City in week 1. That's how high I am on them.
Heck of an analogy with Josh Allen, because isn't he a lot like Elway, right? He can run, he can throw, he's got a cannon arm.
Throw that ball a country mile, man.
If that happens, I think the Browns fans will riot in the streets, and I don't know what will happen there. And they're very loyal. But that's a heck of an analogy there.
But check this out. It would really be bad because they had a chance to draft him. They were drafted in the same draft.
Right.
And they took Mayfield over Allen. And Allen, everybody was saying Allen had more of the physical talent, but Mayfield come from Oklahoma.
Right. Very true. I was going to talk to you about Baker. Now, Baker's unique in a couple ways. I mean, he's got a good arm for a smaller guy.
Yeah.
He can move around a little bit. He's not the fastest guy. He's not a Josh Allen for sure.
No.
But he can move around in the pocket. He has, as you said, best offensive line in the league. Probably the best rushing 2 running backs ever. I mean, you got to go back to
at least the best this year, anyways.
Can you name a duo like that can run for 1,000 yards both and catch the ball the way they did? I mean, there have been two backs running for 1,000 yards each in the season, but this highly talented. I mean, I go back to Zonka and Kick and Morris and
how about Chris Johnson, Lindell White for Tennessee about 12 years ago? Maybe.
There you go. There you go. It has been done before, but I mean, these two both are definitely starting running backs on any team. Hunt is a starting running back on any team. So he's got everything in place, and as you said, the defense is upgraded, and the defense wasn't bad last year. They were okay, so they should win. But will Baker be able to keep it together to do this? And that's the only question I got right now. I mean, hell, they had the Kansas City Chiefs last year. That stupid rule where you hit the ball at the goal line, it goes out. It's the other team's ball. It's ridiculous. He's trying to make a play, and he got the ball knocked out. And they beat the Chiefs in that game. If that happened, the Browns might have been in the Super Bowl. And that's what I'm talking about, Robert. Things like that stops the Browns.
Yeah. Bill Belichick says he coaches his players never do that for that reason. He says it's too risky. If you got to go out at the 1 yard line, we'll get it the next play. Don't do that. I mean, think about the difference in points there. I mean, that's like a 10-point turnaround or something. It
was crazy.
Yeah.
But the rule is stupid. I know why they did it.
Yeah.
That's because of Casper pushing the ball in the end zone and then getting the touchdown. I know why they do that. But, I mean, like everything else, they take something and they put it to the extreme instead of just that should be what it's called, and it's just ridiculous. But anyway, I believe that – you know something, Robert? I think the Ravens are going to win that division. I think the Ravens – I think they'll win that division. I think they're good enough to beat the Browns. We'll see. So while we're on it, let's talk about your picks for the divisions.
Okay.
All right. So we'll start in the AFC. You already said you got the Browns in the Northern Division, the Black and Blue Division. So what do you look like in the other divisions in the AFC?
Okay, the Browns, I like them in the North. I like them to win comfortably. In the AFC East, no surprise, like Buffalo to win again. Two defensive ends they drafted. They had a little pass rush issue. If they can develop a running game with their running back, not Josh Allen, I think they got a shot to win the whole thing, too. They've got some guys coming back. Their best running offensive lineman will be back. They had another this guy opted out. They had a defensive lineman that opted out because of the COVID stuff last year. Both of those guys will be back. Buffalo winning comfortably in the East. Let's see. In Tennessee in the South. Now, the Colts, before even Carson Wentz was injured, they had a murder's row scheduled to start the season. And when you've got a new quarterback with new players like that, you don't want to be playing the NFC West, and you don't want to be going on the road playing Baltimore and Miami and Tennessee during that stretch. So their first 6 games are murder's row, man. So I'd like Tennessee to win the AFC South.
Okay, how about
AFC?
Okay, how about in the West now? Do the Chargers challenge KC this year?
I think they can. But I will say this. I don't got the Chiefs going to the Super Bowl. I made this point the other day on my show. No, since the salary cap era, Mac, 1994, not even the Patriots have been to 3 straight Super Bowls. 1990 to 93, Mac, Buffalo Bills went to 4 straight. Right. But since that cap came in 94, not even the Patriots have been to 3 straight. As far as winning the division, Patrick Mahomes' cap number is very low still. It's going to blast up here pretty soon. That big contract's going to kick in. But I still got them winning the West, but they will be challenged. They will not get the 1 seed, in my opinion, this year.
So you don't think the Patriots have a legitimate shot at Buffalo?
They give it a legitimate shot. Mac Jones looked good the other day, by the way. I mean, he's 1,000, 1,000 throw, man. He looked way better than I thought he was going to look.
Yeah, as a rookie, I agree. And we got to keep in mind it's preseason because the Jaguars, I think they beat the heck out of the Green Bay Packers, or Houston did. So, I mean, it really doesn't mean a lot, but it is a signal. I mean, listen, winning is winning. You know, however, whatever game it is, you play to win the game, whoever you got out there.
Well, this decision making too. I mean, he's like 1,000 throw. That's what you really want to see. Quick decision making. How comfortable is that player? Mac Jones looked very comfortable. Yeah. I mean, as far as the comfort level, I think he was the most comfortable player of all the rookies this week. And that's saying a lot because Justin Fields looked great, but a lot of that was running around making plays.
Sure. So in the NFC, who do you got for winning the divisions there, Robert?
Okay, well, now in the East, I mean, I've got Dallas. I like Micah Parsons, the rookie linebacker that they drafted. I was watching a little bit of Hard Knocks the other day. The speed of the game, he's right there already. I mean, he's Zeke Elliott. Man, he's lost about 15 pounds. And Dak Prescott got a second MRI yesterday. Nope, that was just everything's fine. He's going to be okay. I saw Adam Schefter tweet that out. They went all defense. They've got Dan Quinn this year. CeeDee Lamb may be their number one receiver, by the way. Their second-year guy. He's not even making the $100 million, Mac.
No, I agree with you there. I agree with you there. I think Lamb is going to be the number one receiver this year over there.
Yeah. So I think they're going to overwhelm people offensively, and their defense is going to be good enough. It's not going to be top 5. But if you get the 15, Buffalo was about 15th last year. They got to the AFC Championship game.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, long as everything's good with Dak and they're not holding nothing, I think they're going to win that division. As far as the North, I mean, Green Bay, they're going to be challenged by Minnesota this year. But I think they're good enough. They got enough starters coming back to win the North. And then the South, I mean, Tampa – I mean, 31st schedule in the league, by the way. I mean, how do you give a Super Bowl champion that easy of schedule, Mac? And Jamie's right, 32nd for Philadelphia, but I don't got Philadelphia doing much. If I'm him, I hope they lose all the games, and get the number one pick. But that's a different story.
Right. Now in the West, though, Robert, is really interesting because you have 3 teams here that could win it, definitely.
Yeah.
You got the Rams with Stafford. You've got the Cardinals who should be better than they were last year, if that's possible. And now the 49ers, they look like they got – I watched a little bit about that game.
Yeah.
I watched a little bit of it. Trey Lance was okay. He's still a rookie. I mean, he made a couple nice throws, and he made a couple bad throws too. I mean, they were hyping the heck out of this guy.
Oh, but yeah.
It's going to be a good competition. I still think Garoppolo wins a starting job over there. He's just more seasoned than Trey is right now.
Yes.
But does that leave Seattle out this year? I mean, Seattle's been there almost every year. And to me, and maybe I'm wrong, but they look like the weakest team in that tough division.
Well, offensively, they got better. Gabe Jackson, and they brought in Gerald Everett at tight end. Offensively, yes, they're going to be much better. But I was reading some information on ESPN the other day from my show, and they're like 27th in seasonal upgrades. In other words, they had the worst offseason. They still have no pass rush, and they owe Jamal Adams a lot of money. And they're using him as a pass rusher, a safety that they got from the Jets.
Right.
And you're right. I do not think they're going to have the pass rush. I have the 49ers winning that division. I know the Rams are going to get off to a good start. They don't have a lot of depth. They've lost some players. Yeah. And they're counting on, Mac, a 39-year-old left tackle, Andrew Whitworth, to hold up for 17 games now.
Yeah.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, I mean, what I saw from San Fran, it looked like
about
what I saw from San Fran last night is they're going to kind of go back to that running game.
Yeah,
they look like that's what he does. Everybody talks about passing, not with the 49ers. His defense and running, their running sets up the passing. Trey Lance will give them a little bit more action back there, a little bit more highlights, but he's I think he's a year or two away. I think he's still young. He just, I don't know. He just doesn't look ready yet. And I know it's only preseason, but it's a quick preseason, and you're going to go with the pro. I would think there. Now in Chicago, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do there, Robert. Do they go with Dalton?
That's going to be tough. As good as Fields look, Ryan Pace, the general manager, he's doing everything he can to keep his job, Mac. That is going to be a dicey situation. But Ryan Pace, in the back of his mind, he's hoping that Dalton tweaks a hamstring or something, a hangnail, any excuse to play Justin Fields.
I think so too.
I
think so too. They always there's something wrong, Robert, and the GM head coach there. Yeah. Because they're never on the same page. Never. And I don't know. So I agree with most of your picks, Robert. I really do. The Colts with Wentz, whether healthy or not, has not brought a team to the playoffs. He had a great start in his rookie year. But let's put it this way. He's either hurt or he's got something going on. Wentz has talent. He's got arm talent. I don't know how he is upstairs. I think, honest to God, Robert, I wouldn't be surprised. Half the season go by, Wentz might get replaced. And I'm just saying this because I've seen him at Philly. And let me tell you, there's something emotionally, mentally with this guy that he loses his confidence way too fast and he takes things to heart way too much. He did it in Philly with Foles and Hurts. And there's something, I don't know what it is, Robert. And I don't care if he's going back to his old coach or not. There's something there with that guy. I don't know if it's a maturity level. I have no idea. But I have a lot of information on Wentz from other sources that know him and that have at least talked to my source about him. Yeah. And he always has some kind of confidence problem and socializing with his teammates and the coaches. And there's something there, Robert. I'm not sure what it is. Physically, if he doesn't get hurt, which he has got hurt a lot, he's solid. But mentally, I don't know, Robert. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised. Honest to God, I wouldn't be surprised. They're not paying it. It's not against their cap. If he has problems, that they pull him.
Yeah, well, I think if he plays one more year, it's a zero cap hit. They can cut him after this season and take a $20 million cap hit. That's about how much the Rams took when they got rid of Todd Gurley.
Right. Right.
I still like the move, though. You get a potential franchise quarterback, and you gave up a late first round, possibly second round pick.
And there's familiarity there. That's his old. That's his. I don't say it was a bad move. As I've been following Wentz.
Yeah.
Arm incredible. He can put balls in places some quarterbacks can't. Yeah. But his decision making, he gets rattled. He takes way too much to heart. It's like he hasn't grown up yet. Well, you watch, Robert. There's going to be some problems there. I agree with you. I think the Titans, if it works out, that Wentz works out, then I think the Colts will win that division. Just overall, I think they got a more solid team than the Titans. But
yes, they got a more complete team defensively. Tennessee still has they're depending on Bud Dupree to come back. You can ask Jamie about this. We've ended up getting Jim Schwartz, which is our passing defense was a problem, and he's going to make it. He'll make our run defense here in Tennessee better, but the pass defense it'll be about the same. But when you got a guy like Taylor Lewan back at left tackle. Tennessee lost their left tackle in Week 7 last year against Pittsburgh and still won the division. Yeah, well, you got a veteran offensive line here, and then you've got Julio, and then you've got Josh Reynolds, another ex-Ram, there to replace. I forgot the guy's name that plays for the Jets now. He dropped a lot of balls. His name's slipping my mind. Pickles will probably think of it here in a minute, or Carlos.
You're talking about your number 3 wide receiver from the league?
Williams. He had a lot of catches yesterday. I can't remember. You guys gave him a lot of money.
Okay. All right.
The Jets did. Well, if Jack was here, he would know it. Yeah. But anyways, you replace Julio with him. This offensive line, new defensive coordinator. they're going to score a lot of points. I just don't know how many stops they're going to get.
Yeah. Listen, Tennessee's going to be there no matter. I don't care if Wentz plays good or not. Tennessee will be there. There's no doubt about it.
It may come down to the last game.
You got the best
like it did last year.
I mean, we talk about the Browns. Your running game is right up there with the Browns. So I mean, I got no worries about your offense at all, honestly. Let's take a look at the fantasy rookies for a minute. I mean, of course, everybody talks about the quarterbacks and wide receivers and running backs. Of course, in fantasy, that's what you look at, right? You're looking at the people who hold the ball. Who would you go with right away, Robert? Who would be some of your higher picks if you're picking a team with rookies on it?
Well, possibly Justin Fields. I would say if Justin Fields, not Jonnu Smith, but Tennessee lost him it was the wide receiver Pickles. They kept dropping all those balls last year. I would say Najee Harris for the Steelers. And I know Mike Tomlin's thinking about this. They couldn't run the ball last year, and that's all they should be worried about. And he was a first-round pick out of Alabama for Pittsburgh. He needs about 25 touches a game, and I think he'll get about 20. For one thing, they got 4 offensive linemen also to replace Mac.
Yeah.
And I don't have them getting into the playoffs. They could with their defense, but Najee Harris is going to get a lot of touches. I think he's going to get catches out of the backfield. Guys like Jamar Chase, LSU, is going to be playing with his former player with Joe Burrow there. They played together. But he's got competition with Tyler Boyd and T. He could look for something good to come out of that, by the way. If they can protect Burrow. Now, Burrow's a little gun shy. They're saying he's still trying to get over that injury mentally. We're talking about mental with Wentz, but Joe Burrow, MCL, ACL, he's going to be a little afraid to get hit early on. But once he shakes that, man, I mean, Jamar Chase could have a Kyle Pitts with Atlanta. Now Arthur Smith is coming out of Tennessee. He used to be our offensive coordinator. We used to use tight ends like crazy. I mean, tight end screen to Jonnu Smith, tight end across the middle, tight end deep route, Jonnu Smith. The problem with Jonnu Smith, he was just inconsistent. But Kyle Pitts, I mean, he's got this all work. Plus, no Julio there, so that's more for him and Calvin Ridley. So I think Kyle Pitts could have a huge – Trey Sermon, we just talked about the 49ers, Mac. Out of Ohio State, running back for the 49ers. Now, Raheem Mostert is the man there, but if Sermon's hot and he's a young rookie, you know how it is. They're going to give the hot hand the ball. So, Trey Sermon's going to be a good one. Travis Etienne for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He played with Clemson, also with Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah. So they've been throwing to each other. I mean, you even look at, on the Eagles. I know a lot of people. The former Heisman Trophy winner there. I would imagine he's going to get some balls thrown his way too. I mean, they're going to make plays for that guy to try to get him on the field and getting hurts to him. So I mean, that would be another one that I would check on. But great names, Robert. Man. I mean, those were some of the guys I had. Excellent names.
Yeah, now he's got a hamstring injury. They're going to be a little slow out of the gate. You know how it is with wide receivers, rookies. It's going to take some time to develop that pro timing and chemistry. So maybe later on, as the season goes on. Yeah, Devontae Smith, I mean, he had one of the greatest college seasons of all time last year.
Definitely. And, again, I know once he is healthy, they'll move him around and get him off the line of scrimmage. Plays, maybe reverses. We'll see what happens with that. Real quick, Robert, before I let you go. We're starting a new professional baseball league. And I've been harping on this for the last week or so. And what I propose is that we come up with a little, after the Super Bowl, before the Major League Baseball season starts. And I got where my teams are. I know I've talked to you about it. So I've already got where we're going to have our teams, okay? And we're going to work on this together. Me and my weekly guests. We're going to work on this.
Okay.
Because when we come up with that proposal, we don't want them saying anything. We're going to cover all the bases. So right now, we're going to have teams in Mexico, a team in Mexico, a team in Dominican Republic, a team in Puerto Rico,
San Juan,
a team in Brazil. So we're getting all the Central South American countries involved. Cuba, there's some politics involved there, but we'll see. We got to work on that. We're going to have to talk to the State Department.
Overthrow the government and we'll build the nation back up and put a baseball.
Yeah. I'm just hoping we can get them in, and then then we go to the states that don't have baseball currently, so they can kind of adopt them, right? So we're going to get a team in Mississippi, Louisiana, Alabama, New Mexico, Oklahoma. So we're going to have 6 teams at least from the United States that are going to compete in this. All right, so that's the basis. Okay, we're going to get owners. We got to get, we got to be able to get involved in drafting college players that really don't get as much money as people think to sign contracts. It's as low as $200, believe it or not, for rights. So we got to offer them to play right away and 3-year contracts, but we're working on it. So how does that sound so far, Robert? We got 10 teams.
Do you recall the American Baseball Classic? It was some kind of tournament that was, I think it was in the Dominican Republic or somewhere in South America. It was it was in February of about 5 years ago, Mac. It sounded like the World Series down there. I'm thinking these guys are energized.
They would love it, Robert. You could probably
they appreciate it more than we would.
You would probably get 50,000, 60,000 people. And if they had an all-star team playing against us, they would go crazy. Yeah. And I don't care what our talent level is. So that's our base so far, Robert. So now we got to work on ownership and team names. So, take some thoughts in this. Because when you come back on, I'm going to be every time I have a little thought in this so that we can, when we get a huge investor, we need to talk to owners, rich people, we can get this thing up and running. And maybe 3-4 years down the road, Major League Baseball starts getting a little nervous. I just want to get a little nervous. You know what I mean? That's what I'm talking about.
Well, I think it's a great idea for any kind of billionaire to do. The game is so much bigger. Just start a Caribbean league, Mac.
Oh, yeah.
Caribbean and South America, just leave us out of it.
No, we got it. We got it.
Fans will be packed to the rafters.
It would be. You're right. You're 100% right. That's
soccer and baseball is huge down there.
Oh,
baseball may be bigger than the Caribbean.
It's huge. The Dominican Republic League is so competitive. It's crazy. So, Robert, I got to let you go. I got Big Jeffcoat behind the scene here. I got to get to a quick break. Thanks for coming on. Always great visiting with you, talking with you. And,
tell Jack we're thinking about him, man.
Oh, I definitely will. So that's Robert Butler, Sportscope. Check him out anywhere on social media, Facebook, Twitter. He's all over the place. Instagram. He's all over the place. So just look for Sportscope with a K, and you'll find Robert. Have a great
good show, Mac. Thanks. All right, buddy.
So there you go, folks. Robert Butler with his weekly visit. We're going to be right back with 2-time Super Bowl champion, a Dallas legend himself, second all-time in sacks. And he's got a new show coming too, folks. We're going to talk about that too. That's going to be on Northeast Streaming Sports Network. Give me a couple minutes. We'll be right back while I adjust myself. And Jim, you can hear me. I can't hear you. But, man, I just did it all-nighter. So I've been up almost 24 hours. So take it easy on me, okay? I got no buffer at all. Jack is still out. And, he's still under the weather. And hopefully he'll be back soon. But, man, I'm kind of hurting right now, Jim. So take it easy. When you have a teammate that's not feeling well, during practice, don't hit me that hard, okay? Hit me, but don't hit me too hard. We'll be right back on the other side with the legend himself, Jim Jeffcoat. See if I can find my thing here. See, this is the kind of stuff that kills me, Jim. I'm over here searching, and I know it's there because I've had it before. Here we go. Be right back after this, folks.
If you served honorably in our nation's armed forces and you're looking for a way to continue serving your fellow veterans in your community, then join AMVETS. Each year, AMVETS members volunteer millions of hours at VA healthcare facilities from coast to coast, helping to improve the lives of their fellow veterans through the VA Voluntary Services Program. AMVETS posts and departments also participate in a wide variety of community service projects, ranging from Americanism in our schools to supporting the Special Olympics and Boy Scouts of America. If you no longer wear the uniform today, you can still serve through the AMVETS by joining today at amvets.org.
Hi, Grandma. What's for dinner?
Hey, honey, I'm making stew tonight.
Ooh, can Nina come over?
I'm not sure about our new friend. I wonder if there's been any drinking going on. Alcohol at her age can lead to so many bad things. I've been meaning to ask you, what would happen if someone offered you a drink?
Grandma?
This is hard. She's so young, but I know I need to talk to her about it now before someone tries to give her alcohol. If anyone ever does offer you a drink, I want you to say no. I have too much respect for my family, and I don't want to get in trouble.
Okay.
Really?
I promise, Grandma. I love you too.
Okay, how about tasting this stew and telling me what you think?
Some children may try alcohol as young as 9 years old. It's not too early to talk about drinking. For tips on how to begin the conversation, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. That's underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. This message brought to you by SAMHSA and this station.
When you hear the word asthma, you probably think of shortness of breath, coughing, or inhalers. Lots of things can trigger asthma, but the fact is that asthma doesn't just attack, it can kill. But with proper medical management, asthma is controllable. If you experience shortness of breath, wheezing, tightness in your chest, or persistent nighttime coughing, you may have asthma. See your doctor and get the facts. You'll breathe easier. For more information, call 211 Info Line. A message from the Connecticut Department of Public Health, keeping Connecticut healthy.
Good morning. You're listening to the Mac and Jack Sports Show on Northeast Streaming Sports.
Welcome back to the Mac and Jack Sports Show. We are on our Sunday show. We're on Wednesday through Sunday, 8 to 10 a.m. live, folks. A little bit more about that. We'll probably be going from Thursday to Sunday as we reformat our shows and get ready to go heavy into YouTube. And the man behind the scenes right now is going to be one of our newer YouTube shows. Him and Byron Williams are getting together, and they'll be doing a YouTube starting April. See, I told you I'm tired. September 1st. I don't even know why is it April. September 1st, called Talking Shop. So let's bring them up, but let's bring them up with some music.
That's great to be a cowboy, isn't it? This is how we do stuff. This is the Cowboys. We're trying to do something. Really, it's time to lead the football team. It's time. It's your time. It's our time right now. It's our time right now. It's our time right now.
Oh, yeah, Jim. They say that every year, Jim. They always say it's their time, and they disappoint us. And let's bring up the great Jim Jeffcoat. How you doing today, Jim?
Good morning.
Yes, sir.
Jack's not here. We got to hold it down for Jack.
We
do. Got somebody down. You got to hold it. You got to pick it up and hold it down for him.
Yes, we will. We definitely will.
He's still in the. You're working those 24-hour shifts, so we got to help you too.
Oh, I'll tell you. Last night, Jim, when I left early this morning, I was like, "You got to be kidding me!" But I got prepared for the show like a professional, right? You got to be prepared. You got to be ready to rock, man. So Jim, I'd watched the preseason games, and let me give the viewers at home a quick rundown. Cincinnati beat the Bucs 19-14. Texans beat the Green Bay Packers 26-7. The Chiefs over the Niners 19-16. The Raiders beat Seattle 20-7. The Rams lost to Carolina 13-6. I think I'm saying that right. Tennessee won 23-3. The Bills win 16-15. The Cards beat Dallas 1916. Chicago beats Miami 2013. Denver beats Minnesota 33-6. Baltimore beats, New Orleans beats Baltimore 17-14. Cleveland wins 22-13. The Jets win 12-7. Houston 26. Yeah, I already gave that score. You remember your first exhibition game, don't you, Jim?
Yes, I do.
And what did it feel like? Because I can only imagine you were drafted in the first round. You go out here and you're going to play, even though it's exhibition, you're playing supposedly against the best college kids in the land that you've never seen at once, or veterans that are still trying to make the team, second stringers that have been there that are still trying to make the team. So what did it feel like when you first went out on that field in Dallas and you're playing your first exhibition game? I mean, you've got to be nervous. You've got to be excited. You've got to be a little nauseous. I mean, there's got to be a lot of things going through your head.
All the things that you said happened. I was nervous. I had butterflies in my stomach. I didn't even know if I was going to get lined up right. I had to look into the ball to make sure I was lined up on the right side of the ball. It was so fast. It seemed like I was at a NASCAR Indy 500 because they looked so fast. They looked so confident. And they probably, like me, some of them were nervous and just trying to get through the game. But it was a different experience. It was I can't even explain how you felt about it. But you were so excited, too, because now you're playing in the NFL. You're playing in the National Football League. You're playing with the best in the world. And you can say that when you play in the National Football League because, obviously, it's a American sport. And it was unreal. It was unreal to walk out there and see some of the guys that you watched as a kid. Now you're playing against them.
I was watching the Rams. They got a young defensive lineman. And, of course, Donald is one of the best defensive linemen there is right now. I mean, 3-time defensive player of the year. I mean, but he actually took a picture of his locker, and posted it like, I'm here with Donald, and he hugged him, and it was like he was a fan. And of course, he said, "Calm down a little bit, young man. Take it easy. This is real. This is not, you're not a fan anymore. You're on the team." But they did hug, and I mean, did you feel like that?
Matt, when you think about that, you think about walking in the locker room. You got lockers with Tony Dorsett over there. You got Ed Too Tall Jones, like I said before, Randy White, John Dutton, Everson Walls. And you got all these guys in this locker room, and you're like, wow, Drew Pearson, Harvey Martin. And I'm just quiet. I hope they don't notice me. I'm the number one pick. And, hey, Rook.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need anything? You just kind of, you become humble because you're with guys that have played this game and they've won Super Bowls, they've won championships, they've had a lot of success in this game, and now you're just trying to do the same thing, have some success, become one of them, and you're going to have to work extremely hard to do that, and they're going to have to make sure that you fit into their circle.
Do you remember who you hit first? The first tackle you made in exhibition, or is that too much to remember?
That is too much.
Things is just
going. I
going.
don't even remember my name that first. I know it was that first season. The only thing I remember about it was I came in and I got ready for the game, and a security guard came to me and said, "Did you forget something?" And I looked at him like, "What could I have forgot?" And he gave me my car keys. I left my car running. I was so excited to get get in the stadium and play.
That's excited, man. That's too cool. So Dak was thrown before the game. He looked good. He had a second MRI. He said he's ready to go. So that's got to be encouraging to all the Cowboy fans out there right now. That's got to be something that they were really worried about.
I'm sure they were, but the thing is you got to some of the key components to them have to be ready to go too. We know Zeke is probably ready to go, but is Amari ready to go? We know that some of the other guys are having really good preseasons, but you want your big guns ready to go. And like I said before, a lot of offense is timing. My son plays in the CFL, and the defenses are so far ahead of the offenses right now because of timing. And there's going to be a timing issue with Dak with his receivers. And that's the thing. I think that, in my opinion, they'll probably lean on Zeke a little bit more in the early part of the season until that timing gets down. But I think they're excited that Cooper's coming back. He's off the PUP. And, you know, they have the other receivers that are having a CD Lamb that's having a really good preseason. And they only
do you think he takes over as number one, Jim? Do you think Lamb takes over? I mean, this is a kid that's unlimited. I mean, last year he had a heck of a season. Do you think he takes it?
That is, eventually he will be a number one receiver. There's no question about it because he has that kind of talent. I think it's a year or maybe 2 years away from him being the number one because Cooper is still under contract. The one that hurts is the others. Michael, I can't remember his last name. Gallup. He's the one who's probably, you know, the odd man out.
Yeah.
And he is a talented receiver, but is he a number one receiver? That's the question with CeeDee Lamb. Continually getting better. Gallup probably is going to be on another team in the next year or two, whenever his contract is up. And it's not that he's not talented enough. It's just that Lamb is that kind of player.
What are they looking at tight end? Dallas has always had good tight ends. I mean, you know, you go back to Crosby. I mean, they've always had good tight ends there. What are they looking at tight end over there? Do you know, Jim?
I think the tight ends position is pretty good. They lost one with a high ankle sprain, and they're going to be very careful with him. But they're anticipating him being back by the start of the season. But they've always had good tight ends, and you're right. Even in this McCartney offense, they utilize those tight ends. And that's a good one. You're right. It goes back to Doug Cosby. You know, obviously we can talk about Novacek, Witten, and guys of that caliber. But they've always had very competitive tight end in the position. It goes all the way back to Billy Joe Dupree, really.
Very true. Very true. Very true. You know, I being a Giant fan, you know, I belong to Giant groups. It always breaks me up how fans react to certain things, right? They were all upset that Daniel Jones didn't play and that, you know, all the starters didn't play. And, you know, what are they doing? Don't they think Daniel Jones needs work with their receivers? I mean, isn't preseason, I mean, yeah, maybe you should have got in for a series or two. But this is not what preseason, especially the first one, is for. The first one is the continual evaluation. You got to make some big cuts pretty soon.
Exactly.
And you've got to be sure that these guys that you're selecting are good enough to go in when the other players go down or for a rest. So isn't it more important right now, Jim? I mean, I know it's important for the vets to get some work in, of course. But isn't it more important to find out who's going to be, you know, filling in for them if something happens?
Well, Matt, you make a good point because here's the problem you have is you got to evaluate not your first 25 or 30 players. You're evaluating the rest of the roster because these will be your special team players. These will be your backup linemen. These will be your different positions that you have to have on the team to be successful. That's who they're evaluating right now. These preseason games are really to evaluate. You like to get your vets in for a couple of plays to get some timing down.
Sure.
But it's more about the young guys, not really young guys, anybody who's fighting for position. And can he help us on special teams? Can he help us in a different position? And maybe he's a pass rusher. Maybe he's a run stopper. Can he help us these ways on offense? Maybe he's that jack of all trades offensive lineman. He can play offensive guard. He can play tackle. He can come in and help us. These guys are crucial for your team, and that's the ones you got to evaluate at this time.
And I think really, really, Jim, that the vets that do start and that get rotated in, they're probably fighting for a job against somebody else. And maybe their job depends on whether they play well in the preseason or not. Those would be the guys that I would think you would see more vets of besides, you know, that little 5 plays or series or whatever. You know, the long-time tackle there who has a rookie behind him, they want to make sure that that they say who's going to be the starting left tackle, right?
No question. you bring up great points because I was watching the 49ers game, and obviously Jimmy G didn't play, and they played the young quarterback, Trey. And I was watching, actually, their tight ends and their running game, and I thought that was pretty impressive. And that's what we're talking about, all these things. And my evaluation of them is different than it was after watching them and how they executed on offense. I'm thinking this is going to be a team to reckon with in that division, and people better watch out.
Yeah, I mean, in fact, I saw when I was there overnight by myself, Jim, I was watching some of the 49er game too. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, to me, they put a lot of emphasis on the quarterback position with reason. I mean, they draft a rookie quarterback to be, the future starter. And, of course, the ones that were calling the game on an NFL network were San Francisco broadcasters. Yes. So they were a little bit more biased and, he shouldn't have dropped the pass. And, he really did this, he really did that. Really, Trey Lance just looked like a normal rookie quarterback to me that has a lot of talent. And he just doesn't look like he's ready yet. And it's only one preseason game. But, I mean, he can make dynamic plays. He can make big throws. But he also, and this is only exhibition, he also threw the ball when he shouldn't have thrown the ball.
Yes.
And I think that's what they're going to look at. And if that's the way it goes throughout the rest of the games, I have a feeling Garoppolo is going to start. And that he'll be there.
No question. And then you look at the Jets. They're in a unique position where they're going to start basically a rookie quarterback. Well, he is a rookie, Zach Wilson. And he didn't play bad for a rookie quarterback.
No, he didn't.
The stage didn't look too big for him, I guess you could say.
Right.
That's
I agree. He looks good. Trevor Lawrence, when he got hit that first time, again, his first play was a sack, so it didn't intimidate him, which was good. He still kept his composure throughout the thing. But again, he was only in there for a short while, and he did what he had to do. But it doesn't look like he's going to be, going to set the league on fire this year like I think people think he's going to. I think he's going to have to grow in pains like every other rookie quarterback.
Yeah, here's the thing that I noticed about Trevor Lawrence. First of all, he's going to struggle a little bit because when people turn the pressure on him, and I know he's done things in college, but his release is a little slower. Wilson, Zach Wilson, I thought he had a quick release. And if you remember, probably one of the greatest rookie quarterbacks was Dan Marino. And what made Dan Marino effective was his release. He had that quick release. And I think Wilson's release is a little quicker. And obviously, they can prove me wrong on that. And I watched Chicago's quarterback. I thought Justin Fields. And I watched all the quarterbacks because I was interested because we had so many quarterbacks drafted number one and watched how they perform under the lights. And just like I said, there's a lot of butterflies, there's a lot of nervousness, and you want to see how they perform when the lights are on.
Yeah, I think it's more about, if I'm wrong, let me know, Jim, but I think it's a lot more about composure and about, making certain reads than it is more about throwing touchdowns under them circumstances, right? Because you're not with the first team for the most part. You want to see if that kid can handle that pressure and handle the different reads and make good throws, whether they catch him or if it's low or maybe it's into coverage once in a while. But that's a learning moment for them, especially if they're going to start right away. So you're just mainly looking as a leader, composure. Is it too big for him? And some rookie quarterbacks it's too big for, and you know that just watching them during preseason.
No question, and that's the thing. And obviously you don't have your whole playbook in, and you're not playing with the first team like you mentioned. But it's how do they react when they get hit? How do they react when things don't go their way? Can they fight through those things? Because in the NFL, you obviously don't have, even if you're a veteran quarterback, you are going to have issues at times. And you're going to have to be able to play through those issues.
So when you coached, Jim, and you coached in the XFL for a little bit, when you had your defensive players around you, and you're watching them during practice and you're watching them during drills, there's certain things I know you're looking for. You're looking for technique. You're looking for a little bit of explosion. And, I would imagine, too, that, who you think is the best out there before you start may not be the best. And who you thought that may barely have a chance at making it surprises the heck out of you while you're evaluating him, because either he learns fast or maybe he's got that extra step or extra move that the other guy didn't have that you thought might start. So how many times when you're coaching in your mind that you say, well, listen, I'm going to give this kid a shot. I mean, even over a guy that's played the game before and that has a little more experience. But this kid's he's a fast learner. He's got that explosion. His technique might even just need a little more tweaking. But, man, you could see that raw talent just in practice during drills and going like on 1-on-1 or 7-on-7.
You know, that's a great point you make. But what I looked at was what kind of effort did it get? I can correct the technique. I can correct all those things. But does this guy play hard, or does he have to think before he reacts, just like you said? I want to see him play hard. And if he makes a mistake, I'm going to correct the mistake. I'm not going to beat him down. I'm not going to yell at him. I'm not going to scream and say, hey, this is things you can do it, because everybody has different abilities. You have to find out what his ability is and utilize that to the best of his advantage. The great thing, and we talked about it before with Jimmy Johnson, is he found out what you did well, and then he made you better at that. And that's what I tried to do, was find out what they do well and what they don't, and find ways that I can make that better. What they don't, but really push them on things they did well and explain to them what they don't do well and why we need that. So that's the thing. But the hustle and the effort is so big in sports. You see the great players, the Aaron Donalds, you see the Aaron Rodgers even, and some of these quarterbacks that are great, how their effort and their just the motivation to be the best.
Saquon Barkley is supposed to be healthy and ready to rock. We'll find out how he does. I imagine they'll hold him off to opening game. I would imagine maybe give him a series last exhibition game. I don't know, just to see how his wheels are. Have you ever seen one player mean so much to a team? I looked at stats, Jim, over the week. Daniel Jones is almost an all-pro when Saquon Barkley is there. He had 21 touchdowns to 8 interceptions. His passer rating was 92. He was throwing for almost 300 yards a game. Without Saquon, 13 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. Threw for 200, and I think it was 20 yards. It wasn't even close to what he was making. Have you ever seen a player, maybe Emmitt Smith, that meant so much to a team, to the quarterback, to the whole offensive scheme?
I've seen quite a few of them. You can say Barry Sanders and Detroit. He meant so much. And I know they didn't have a lot of success in the playoffs and get into the championship. But this is the thing. That running game, if you can get him going, and Zeke means a lot. He had a off year last year, and you see what that happens, because now the quarterback is not under so much pressure because he has to see different looks. Because if the running back like Barkley, like you said, that's what scares me as a Cowboy fan about the Giants. Because Jones, and that's why I picked them to win the division, because Jones is more effective when Barkley's healthy. Because Barkley takes a lot of the pressure off him. Because you gotta game plan for Barkley, no matter what you're doing. And that's not the only one who does it. There's other teams that do it, but he does it. Tennessee does it with Derrick Henry.
Sure.
That's another thing. He makes the quarterback better. And
I remember, Jim, when Emmitt Smith, I think he broke his shoulder or his arm, and Dallas was struggling.
Yes.
So he played with that broken arm. And I think he ran for 200 yards against us, and then Dallas took right back off again. It was like that one. Yeah, it was like that one key element of Dallas's game was taken away, and then we could, the defenses just could key off Aikman and don't worry about the running game. But when Emmitt came around, there they go again, and playing hurt too.
Yeah, you make a good point, because you don't want to be one-dimensional as an offense, because that's to the advantage of the defense, because they know what you're going to do. And that's what some of these teams we've discussed and broken down. We talked about why they won't be as good or why they will be. And these things have to have, you got to have a good running game. You got to have a solid defense. And you got to have a quarterback that can control. There's only about maybe 2 or 3 quarterbacks in the whole league that could really win games for you.
Yeah, I agree.
The majority of them need some help.
I agree with that 100%, Jim. I think no matter how much a passing game it is, I mean, you know, the defense knows you're passing all the time. They're going to at least slow you down where their team has a shot. That running game and that passing game together, man. I mean,
I'm sorry. The prime example is what happened with Tampa Bay and Kansas City. Tampa Bay was able to run the ball. Kansas City wasn't. And
100%.
The greatness of Mahomes, and as a great quarterback he is, he still wasn't as effective because he did not have that running game to take some of the pressure off.
100%, Jim, 100%. Folks, we're going to take another quick break. It'll be very quick. And me and Jim will be back, and we're going to break down the NFC West. And I got a couple surprises, I think. Well, might surprise some people, maybe not. And we'll also talk about his new show coming up with Byron Williams. I can't wait to get this thing started. This is going to be nothing but fun and nothing but a lot of good sports on a really good show. So we'll take a quick time out. Let me get up and stretch my tired old legs. Oh, my God. I feel like I'm 100 years old. You know me feel like I'm 25, Jim. Right now I feel like I'm 100. And anyway, we'll be right back after this, folks. Please stick with us. See if I can find it again. But you know what they did to me, Jim? They messed up my board, right? I have a certain board here. And once in a while, StreamYard comes in and changes the order and how and it just messes me all up. They just recently did that, so I'm still struggling with it. Folks, we're going to be right back.
We all make choices. When it comes to alcohol, kids make choices whether to drink or not.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Remember, I'm going to Alex's party tonight and sleeping over.
Hey, have a seat for a second. Remind me about that party again.
And adults make choices whether to talk about it. That's true of parents and every other trusted adult in a kid's life. Kids want to know our expectations when it comes to alcohol and other drugs. They want guidance and honest answers to their questions. And it makes a difference when the message is consistent and part of everyday conversations. So talk with your kids and help lead them on a positive path. Because when you talk, they hear you. For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
If you talk and they will hear you every single time.
Oh, we're getting killed.
Yeah, well, Kyle's not here.
How come?
Kicked off the team. Didn't Tony tell you? Kyle and some other kids got caught drinking beer in the park a couple of nights ago.
Really?
Yeah. 0 tolerance. He's out for the season.
Come on, it's a first offense, right?
That we know of. But why should that matter? He knew not to drink. I've made it clear to Matt, that's what we expect from him. What have you said to Tim?
Nothing really. You know, a lot of kids try it at this age, so.
Yeah, well, a lot of kids don't try it too. I'm not saying that Matt's going to be this perfect kid, but if I don't tell him what we expect and why he shouldn't drink, how's he going to know?
You think kids that age really listen?
They never admit it, Bill, but they hear more than you think.
Talk. They hear you. For more information about talking with kids about underage drinking, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. If you served honorably in our nation's armed forces and you're looking for a way to continue serving your fellow veterans in your community, then join AMVETS. Each year, AMVETS members volunteer millions of hours at VA healthcare facilities from coast to coast, helping to improve the lives of their fellow veterans through the VA Voluntary Services Program. AMVETS posts and departments also participate in a wide variety of community service projects, ranging from Americanism in our schools to supporting the Special Olympics and Boy Scouts of America. If you no longer wear the uniform today, you can still serve through the AMVETS by joining today at amvets.org.
Good morning and welcome back to the Mac and Jack and Jim show. In our last hour, we have Jim Jeffcoat, two-time Super Bowl champion. And up there right now, you see their logo as they'll be talking shop. Let me remove that banner so you can see it all. Jim Jeffcoat and Byron Williams, two former NFL stars, will be hosting their show 1 September. They'll be talking, of course, about NFL. They'll be talking about the Cowboys and the Giants. And they also already, right out of the gate, have two All-Pros, one from the Cowboys, one from the Giants. And, like I said, man, they don't mess around. These guys are serious about their NFL and serious about the people they know. They know tons of people. So you should have great guests all the time and great talk because you're going to have two former players that actually played this game. We're not reporters. They're not guys they're not fans. There's guys that played this at the highest level in the world. So it's going to be a very great show, and I can't wait for it to come on, Jim.
Well, we are fans, and even if you're a player, you're a fan of it, just like you mentioned about the player that was there with Aaron Donald. You are a fan of the game, and that's why you've had the opportunity to play it, and at the highest level, you're still a fan, and you kind of watch other great players.
Sure. I agree with that too. I mean, no matter what, not only a fan, but mutual respect for these players. Because, you guys went through it. You went all the way up through the ranks and got to where you're at. And, man, I mean, you talk about the percentages that make it there. Just make it to get a tryout is mind-blowing. People think because you're a good football player in college, you're automatically going to the NFL and you're going to make it. That doesn't happen most of the times, folks. You're talking maybe 1 to 3% of the best college players in the country. That 97% don't make it. So it's kind of mind blowing if you really think about it. And that's why I encourage a lot of the kids that go to college, get that education, man, because you don't know whether you're going to make it or not. Follow that dream, go get it. But man, it's tough to break in and make a living doing it.
You make great points, Mac. You're right on point. That's why the NIL scares me.
Me too.
It's things of that nature, just what you said. Not everybody's going to be a pro player. And you are going to make some money in a short period of time. But are you going to invest it properly? Are you going to understand how money works? Or are you just going to spend it on lavish things like young kids do?
Yeah.
And not have money? You'll be 30 years old and you could be possibly broke and things. And then who are you going to blame? Did you get your education? And they said, well, it's not that important. Education is important as you grow older and making sure you have a degree. Those things, and you have the opportunity to get a degree free. And
Jim, I noticed that a lot of former players are running companies or are part of companies because of that college education. I mean, yeah, you could be a spokesperson and maybe make a couple dollars, but really to make some real money when you get out of the NFL, a lot of players, even out of the NFL, end up looking for jobs and regular jobs and are sweeping are janitors. And I've seen it. So that education they fall back on helps them out in business, helps them out, investment wise. I mean, there are so many people that want to be next to you because you're popular and make a lot of money. As soon as that ends, see you later. So, I mean, very important, Jim, and I agree. I'm scared of the NIL too.
Yeah, real quick, no question, because I run 3 companies. I'm a partner in 3 companies, and if I didn't have my degree, and if I didn't understand how to prepare myself for life after football, these companies I probably wouldn't have been involved in.
Yeah, very good. I mean, you're not just a name because, I mean, like I said, it might work for a little bit, but, man, you've got to know what you're doing out there. And college, any education, I don't care what it is, get as much as you can, as fast as you can get it. So you go on with your life. Even former Green Bay Packers stars from way back when, I see them, they own businesses, man. And yes. Not only, I mean, yeah. So Jim, let's get a little into the NFC West. And I think this is the most competitive division in the NFC anyway. And I think that there's going to be a real good team that's not going to make the playoffs this year coming out of the division. I mean, if you look at it real quick, you got the Rams who have improved. The Cardinals are just going to be better. I mean, that's the system's there for what, a second, third year almost. You got the San Francisco 49ers, as we talked about. I mean, it looks like they're going back to what got them the Super Bowl, a strong running game, and they got a great defense. And then you got the Seahawks that have been in the playoffs almost every year with Russell Wilson. So you might have a 9-7 team, a 10-6 team, like what happened in New England a long time ago, that may not make the playoffs.
I agree with you totally, because that is the most competitive. And you see, every team has something of value in that division. And just like you say, San Francisco might be the best team in there. I'm not sold on Stafford yet. I know people like him and say, well, now he's in the Rams, he's going to do all these things. I'm not sold on him. And there's the thing. Seattle's going to be Seattle. The Cardinals will be better, but are they good enough? Especially in that division. If they were in another division, I'd say, yeah, they could win the division. But are they good enough? Because that division is so competitive. And they do have some talent.
I agree with everything you said. I mean, if you look at it, the reason why I think, in my opinion, will come in first is because of that defense. That defense was number one in the NFL last year. They got a new coach there now because, of course, the Rams defensive coordinator went to San Diego. Somebody scooped him right up. But they still got the players. All they got to do is add a little. What did Ray Donald say? Aaron Donald say? He said they just put a little more sauce on their basic D. They run is basically the same defense. They picked up a couple wide receivers. The running backs still a little iffy. But Jim, even though Matt Stafford, you may not be sold on, with Detroit, the man played hurt. He was one of the best in stats because, of course, he was playing from behind all the time. I'll say that. But he's a confident, got a great arm. He's experienced. I think he's an upgrade from what they had last year. So why wouldn't the Rams win the division?
My problem with the Rams right now is, we mentioned this earlier, is the running game. Their running game, their top running back obviously is out for the season. And can they be efficient in the running game? Because that's the thing. This is the problem Stafford had in the past. They put it on here, and he's not one of the 3 or 4 quarterbacks. We said 2 or 3, maybe, quarterbacks in the league that can win games for you. He needs a running game, and can they have an effective running game to make him more effective? Yes, they did get more receivers, but they still need a running game. When they got to the Super Bowl the last time, they can run the ball.
Yeah, I mean, you're 100% right. San Francisco, I had a question mark about them because last year they stopped running the ball. Yes. I think they put way too much on Garoppolo. Garoppolo gets hurt. They really didn't change up. They still continued to throw the ball, and it looks like that they got that back to where they are now, where they were when they went to the Super Bowl. Strong running game, play action pass. I think Garoppolo, as I said earlier, starts, maybe plays the whole season. I mean, he's not a scrub, that's for sure. And you got that young rookie right behind him. So, I mean, not just this year, but I think in the next 3 or 4 years, Francisco is going to be a force over that division with that young defensive line. I should say, not just young. They also got experience there, but all their first-round choices were defensive line. And I think their first 2 choices this year, Jim, were at running back, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, and they have Mostert. That's why I think San Francisco is the sleeper team in that division. I think they could easily win that division because of the issues with the other teams. And that's why I'm picking San Francisco to be the best team in that division, because of just what you said, the defense. They do have a very good running game. They can play action you. When Jimmy G has help, he can win games as long as he has people around him. And I think they do. Obviously, they got the best tight end. Maybe it's arguable. Him and the 2 best tight ends in the league are Kansas City and San Francisco.
Yeah.
So that's the thing you can say. They have weapons. And I think San Francisco, if they get off to a good start, people are going to be shocked about, because I think they're the cream of division.
And and it's something to be said about their owner and GM too, Jim. It's run like a family organization over there. It's a lot like it's a lot like the Rooney family, right? I mean, they take care of their players, they take care of their coaches, they take care of and Lynch is doing an outstanding job over there. Not only a great safety, but man, he's making a lot of good moves. Pretty gutsy getting a young quarterback when you already got a talented quarterback back there, and they're kind of working together and working it out. That just shows me that there is communication, that the team wants to win. It's not all about I'm first string quarterback and why are you doing this, like what happened in other places where why are you drafting a young rookie and at first. There's none of that there. It all seems cohesive, Jim.
But here's the thing. You need pressure because that's going to make you better. You have to be when I excelled in the NFL, it's because I had pressure in a position. People were challenging my position. And that's what you want because you either have to pick it up or you're going to be out. That's just the reality. That's business. That's just the way the business in any business is run. Either you're effective or somebody else will be more effective.
Yeah, I mean, I don't agree with the people that say stuff like this. Daniel Jones is a franchise quarterback. We shouldn't draft a quarterback. I disagree with that 100%. I mean, I don't care if he's a franchise quarterback or not. If I have a shot at getting a great quarterback or maybe potentially a great quarterback, I'm going to take a shot at him. I can always trade one of them later. I want to see if I got something better. And like you said, to push that quarterback, if he sits back and says, I'm quarterback, I mean, what is he worried about? Whether he messes up or not, right? I mean, that's got to be in his mind, Jim.
There's got to be, but here's the thing. Even back in the early 90s, the Dallas Cowboys drafted Steve Walsh, and they already had Troy Aikman, and that made Troy better. And I know Steve wasn't a great NFL quarterback, but he played for Jimmy Johnson at the University of Miami. He knew all the players and things of that. So that made Troy better. And they always are trying. You always have to have that. You have to have that because it's a competitive sport, and you want to find out if your players are competitive. Are they going to say moan and complain about it, or are they going to get better themselves? The last year, Aaron Rodgers, when they brought in Jordan, he got better. He became the MVP of the league. So that's the thing you got to realize.
Yeah, I mean, listen. I don't like the idea of somebody just has their job. I mean, that's not what the NFL is. That's what not any competitive sport is. Are you the best? Well, show me you're the best. Don't tell me you're the best. Let me see it on the field. And I don't want to hear the GM. If I'm coaching the team, I want the best available players I can get. I don't care what position it's at. You guys deal with that later. I don't like quarterback controversies. I'll say that. Staubach and Morton wasn't good for the Cowboys. I know it wasn't. They had to eventually they got rid of Craig Morton. But if they said, well, Craig, that's your team, they would have never went after Roger Staubach. So I think there's validity in having competition, definitely. I at any position.
Well,
so go ahead, Jim.
Only thing I was going to say is the prime example is what's happening in New Orleans is there. That's making those two better. I really believe that. And I watched a little bit of New Orleans, and I was kind of shocked because I thought that Jameson played better. He has got some talent. And if they can rein in and he stops throwing those interceptions, they could be scary. And then Michael Thomas is coming back in the fold, things of that nature. But you're right, the competition is going to make you better if you stand up and know you have to get better to play, especially at quarterback because only one can play.
Do you think, Jim, talk about Winston for a second. The interceptions. I know sometimes quarterbacks try to win the game all on their own and put too much on their shoulders, blah, blah, blah. But do you think that's something to do with reading the defenses? I mean, if you think you have that strong of an arm, and there's a lot of quarterbacks in history that had strong arms and never made it, do you think that's coaching by the offense, or do you think he gets fooled by the defense too much?
I think it's a combination of both. But here's the thing. I'll never forget this about Bill Parcells. he would make Sean Payton, when we were all together, find out what does this quarterback, the 5 things he can do well, and what 5 routes he can throw, and what he can be effective. Because with quarterbacks especially, is confidence. It's a lot of confidence in it, and building that confidence. What is he? It might be short pass. It might be the running back. It might be a little hitch to the wide receiver. He might be like the old Oakland Raiders, throw the deep bombs. He might do that well. But find out 5 things he does well and emphasize those, especially early in the game, so he can have some success, so he can be confident in what he does and feel confident about himself. Because if you get a quarterback down, that's really hard on your team because it's hard to lift them up.
You know, I was watching Haskins with the Steelers too, staying at quarterback, young quarterbacks for a minute. He looks good, Jim.
Yes.
He looks good. I mean, they say Ben is the starter. I wouldn't guarantee that. I mean, Ben had his problems last year. He's older. God bless him. He's been a great quarterback and he's taken a hell of a beating. But, I mean, Haskins looks really good. I think by the end of the preseason that if he's played really good, that I think he may deserve a shot at that first-string quarterback. I know they signed Roethlisberger, but is something like that a Haskins? Is he a wild card that maybe he can steal that starting job from Ben?
I don't think he'll steal a starting job, but it makes you feel better if something happens to Ben. And if Ben is not effective, now you have somebody who can come in and possibly, help you win games. I don't think right at this point it's too early in the preseason, even with 3 games, to say, hey, this guy's going to be the guy. Give Ben time. And then if Ben can't do it, now you got to look at what your options are.
Because I really hate what the Redskins did with Haskins. I mean, they put pressure on him. They made him there was, I don't know if you heard this, but there was a story that while the coach was coaching, and this was against the Giants, and they were beating up Haskins a little bit, the owner called Haskins personally, the great owner there at Washington, and said, you're out of the game. He told the coach. He actually called Dwayne Haskins, and Dwayne Haskins went to the coach and told him he was out because the owner just called him. Have you ever heard of anything like that in your life?
I've never heard of anything like that. I'd be very shocked. And if he said that, then he was wrong, because then he took authority from his coach, because other players look at that. They're not going to go to the coach. They're going to go to the owner. And that's the problem you have. I think that's really bad that he was in a horrible situation to do that to a player.
I mean, if I was Hick, I would have resigned right after that game. Yes. I would have resigned right after. I would have resigned. I wouldn't have stuck around.
No question.
That's great. So we get to the Cardinals now. Now you have San Fran in first. I had San Fran in second. I'm kind of edging San Fran after I know exhibition doesn't mean a lot, but just watching what they were doing yesterday, they may be the favorites. The Cards I got coming in third. I think what you said is correct. I think in maybe 2 divisions, maybe 3, they might be the division winner over there. I think their team is that talented. They got a great young quarterback. If he doesn't keep trying to run for touchdowns and taking on people, and they throw a little bit more and let him just scramble a little bit, I think they really have a team that's going to make the playoffs this year. And by the end of the year, who knows? If they're healthy and they got something going, they may take it. I really think they're that good, Jim.
They are good, but here's my problem with the Cardinals. I also had the opportunity to work with Cliff Kingsbury at the University of Houston and that scheme. And I know they said, well, he's running a more pro-style scheme, but he's using some of the things that are relevant to the RPOs they ran or the spread offenses. And they can be effective, but they're at points they're not as effective in the NFL because you have more talent. You're playing against DBs that are obviously more talented. And just like you said, Murray's got a lot of talent, but can he understand, just like you said, he can't take those chances, because if he gets injured, he's a guy that, their team is going to not be effective. They're not going to be as good. And that's what scares me. He's going to take a pounding still because of what they do and how they play. offensively. And they do run the ball, and they utilize tight ends. But that's my concern. I think that with San Francisco, it's a more balanced team. Great defense, very good offense, and those things. And I just think San Francisco is a little bit more balanced. And we've said, Seattle is going to be somewhere in there. I don't know if they'll be last, and maybe they will be third. You like the Rams better. It's going to be interesting between Seattle and the Rams and who takes second place. I think San Francisco is heads over heels at everybody right now, as long as Jimmy G stays healthy.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's so close. Anything could change this mix-up. I mean, it's that close. All the teams, I think, are that close. I think Seattle falls. And I mean falls like to 10-6 or 9-7, Jim. I mean, they don't fall out of it. But I think defensively they have a lot of problems. Their running game has a lot of work to do. Their best pass rusher over there right now may be Jamal Adams. I mean, when you have a safety being your best pass rusher, I think there's major problems over there on the defensive side of the ball. And that's total opposite from what Seattle was when they went to the Super Bowl. They had a very strong defense and a great running game. I don't know if they have that anymore. And that's why I put them last. Not that they're still not a solid team. I just think compared to the other three, defensively, the running game, I just don't think Russell Wilson can win to get a wild card bid this year. I don't think they can do it.
I can't argue with you that on it, but Wilson is an interesting guy and that team is interesting because they compete so hard. You want to talk about competition and teams competing. Seattle's going to compete. Will they be the NFL? Will they be the NFC West champions? No. But they're going to compete with every team in there, and they're going to win some games out of conference that are going to give them an opportunity to possibly vie for that wild card position. I think that's how they get in. And they do have some issues. They have some extreme issues, and it's going to be between them and the Cardinals who are going to be third and fourth. I think it's between the Rams and the 49ers who's going to be first and second. But you make a great point.
I mean, if you think about it, I'm not putting Seattle down. I think Seattle will be in the mix in every other division. I think they're that solid. It's just when you're playing, for example, when the Giants beat Seattle, it wasn't because their offense beat them. That was the defense beat Seattle, and Seattle to me, and that showed me something about what direction we're going in. Of course, they got a lot of new players and blah blah blah. And Pete Carroll's a great players coach in the whole 9 yards. But when I seen the Giants, I don't even think they scored a touchdown if I'm not mistaken. I think it was like 12-9 or something. But they just shut down that offense. And not that the Giants have a terrible defense. They have a good, solid defense. Maybe a little underrated, but that's the Seattle Seahawks. And when I see a team like the Giants last year do that to them, I said, wow, this is not the same Seattle Seahawks team I'm used to seeing. And I just don't think that they're on the level with those three other teams. And like I said, not that I don't think they're going to have a good record. I think they finish above 500. But I just don't know if they can compete against those other three teams.
That's the problem with that. The thing, what you're saying is true. In that division, they could be the fourth place team. But in the whole picture of things, they could be an opportunity to vie for playoffs, not because of the division, it's because out of the division. If they win 2 or 3 games in division and then win their out of division games, and that's what I think what you said is correct. That is probably the most competitive division in the NFL at this time, and that's the NFC West.
Yeah. So who do you think? I would say Wilson's the best quarterback in that division, right? Hands down?
No question. Hands down. No question.
The best running game has to be San Fran. I would think that's the best overall offensive running game.
Yes.
I think the Rams overall have the best defense.
Yes.
And I think the Cards probably have the most exciting offense in the league with Tyler and with him throwing downfield to them fast receivers, good tight ends, and can take off. I think they're very exciting and can put a lot of points on the board against some team if they have a bad defensive day. I think that's a great division. I really do.
But here's the problem you have with, again, the Cardinals is that they are explosive. But the problem with spread offenses is that it gives the defense no time to recover because they score too quick.
Very true. Very true.
And the thing that you have with spread offenses. So
very true.
Issue. They can score, but can their defense recover quick enough to help them in holding down offenses? Because other offenses are going to open up too.
Well, Buck makes a point, and I thought about this too. Do you think maybe, coaches move around because the message eventually gets a little old? The players have heard it. Jimmy Johnson did that. Parcells did that. A lot of coaches do move around a lot or retire. Do you think that maybe Pete Carroll's all done? Do you think maybe it's been his run is over?
I think so. I think it's probably closer to the end because of what you just said. Is that he's had a lot of success, but he's been in the same spot. And if you remember it a couple of years ago, I think Al Davis said it is that a coach's time was about 10 years, but he said now it's about 5 or 6. And that's true. That's true because it's just the way the NFL is now. And it's hard to maintain that longevity anymore.
I mean, you got the Steelers are the exception to the rule, right? They're always competitive. They're always there. I don't know what the Rooney family does with coaches there. I have no idea. I don't know what kind of support they give coaches that nobody else does. But 3 head coaches since the 70s? I mean, and they're all going to be Hall of Famers, Jim.
Yeah, they all.
I mean, even Mike Tomlin, I think, is a shoe in Hall of Famer too. I think they're going to have 3 Hall of Famers from all 3 coaches.
I agree. That's a very unique situation. But if you look back, not recently, but the Giants were a lot like that with Parcells, and they didn't change coach. Well, in that time, they really didn't change. Coach Landry obviously was a long-term quarterback coach and things like that. So yeah, the game has changed. You don't really stay places very long.
And I love gimmicks because like the offense that can run 30 plays instead of 25 plays that run so fast, and we got this new formation and we got these new trick plays, and what I love that, and it makes me laugh, Jim, because no matter the sport, it's always the basics that win the game. You can have all the trick plays and run the offensive faster and put 20 defensive backs in there. If you can't block the guy or tackle the guy, you can do anything you want. It ain't going to work. You got to be better at the basics than the other team. That's normally what wins the games.
100% agree with you. Teams that win championships do the basics, and they're good at them.
Yeah. It's sort of like the drop back passer is dead, but yet the drop back passer wins the Super Bowl again. I love when people say things, man. I just love it. It's all they're done.
Yeah, okay. The things you said are exactly right. You gotta be good at the basics. You gotta play defense, and you gotta still run the ball.
And as you said, effort. One.
No question.
Imposing your will. That will never change unless they go to flag football. That will never change.
That's true.
Right? So, folks, that hour flew by. And as you hear Jim talk and his knowledge of the game and everything, and then you have throw on top of there Byron Williams, star wide receiver for the Giants, played in 3 different leagues. These guys know a lot about football. 1 September, YouTube channel only, every Wednesday night at 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock Eastern. So that'll be, whatever else anywhere.
Where you at in the end?
Yes, worldwide.
Who knows?
This is worldwide, Jim. We're going. YouTube's everywhere. So, folks, be sure to come over 1 September. Check out the YouTube show called Talking Shop, and this is what it is to these 2 great players. Shop to them, and they'll have a lot of history, a lot of stuff about the NFL, about the players. And like I said, they know what these players are going through, what it takes to make a team, and what the best of the best brings. And also, we got 2 All-Pros, one from the Giants, one from the Cowboys, that'll make their appearance on the opening show. And I ain't going to tell you who they are now. We still got a ways to go, folks.
You'll be excited about it.
This is a tease. This is called a tease. And we're going to tease you until we get to that show about a week before. And we'll announce who's going to be on the show. And you will not be disappointed. Both have gone to Super Bowls, so just to let you know. We're talking top of the line at their position that will be there on the show, joining Jim and Byron talking shop. So, folks, have a great Sunday. Football's here, man. I just can't wait till the regular season starts.
I'm excited about it.
Me too. Me too. Folks, have a great Sunday. I'll see you back here on Mac and Jack on Thursday as we change the format around. And remember, again, 1 September, the great Jim Jeffcoat, NFL wide receiver star Byron Williams will be having their show. So have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.